The Ndi Massacre. Fellow Ambazonians, this is a never again generation, a generation that will not forget, a generation that seeks for justice, for lasting and sustainable peace in a free homeland. This story I'm about to share is written by an Ambazonian called Ndi Charles, recounting an ordeal that happened to his kinsman, the people from his village, Ndi. It is titled the Ndi Massacre. This one it come in the light of La République du Cameroon, spokesman for their military, admitting and confessing that the Cameroon military carried out war crimes and a massacre in the great state of Menchum, in Misong village, in Fongom, where they killed 9 people, mother, children, father, and claimed that they felt threatened and these villagers failed to comply. The statement by the Cameroon military opens wounds of the millions and thousands of Ambazonians who have been killed since we get into this experiment of a union with La République du Cameroon. One of those killings are the Ndi Massacre that took place in 6th of June 1992. There are hundreds and thousands of Ambazonians that have been killed by La République du Cameroon with impunity, and there is no justice that we will ever get from a regime that refuses our identity, that bans our nationalism, and consider our entire population as criminals and terrorists for simply demanding a recognition of their nationality and identity, something that is internationally recognized and factually true. Let's go to the text. The Ndi Massacre. Memories from home. 6th of June 1992. It was Ndi Market Day. The first vehicle that came from Ndi told mayhem. The population of Ndi disappeared into the surrounding villages and beyond. Your entire Matena family had trekked to your village, Lu, still too young to fathom out of the actual dimension of happenings around you. You were happy to see your grandma, other members of your Matena family. But why didn't they bring special Ndi Ching Ching and blockade? That was quite unusual. But their mere presence meant you and your siblings were going to listen to the euphonious sounds of beautiful Ndi dialect of the Limbum language. The Ndi dialect was a maker of style, class, and modernity. It was music to your ears, and you had always mockingly reproached your mom for adopting too fast to the dialect of her husband's village. It was when your family's guests began narrating their ordeal that the flay of the Ndi dialect was superseded by the awful nature of the barbarity which they recounted. They were not your family guests. They were refugees. They talked of the people being indiscriminately massacred in broad daylight by the gendarmes, and a bottle inserted into the women's private parts. How was that possible? Who ordered the killings? In the days that followed, your relationship with the mental image of Ndi and the portrait of Paul Biya which hung on the wall of your family parlor began to change. Before then, Ndi irrevocably stood for modernity and development, and your mother used to reward any good behavior from any of your other younger kids by promising to take them to Ndi. The image of climbing into a car always procure a certain joyous foretaste coupled with the fabulous sensation that everything around you was gyrating in the widening jail. Unfortunately, these promises never materialized until when you attain a certain age. Ndi stood for the promise of newness, of a new pair of shoes, a new toy, a new football, and above all, new Christmas dresses. Sometimes you held your breath the whole day, counting the hours, the minutes, the seconds, and then the final moment at the dusk when the taxi driver would make a redemptive stop in front of your compound for your mother to step out, but the fulfillment of the gift depended on the fluctuating price of the beans. At times when salary ceases to mark the actual beginning of the month, but that another story. As for Paul Biya, you had always thanked God for giving a country such a handsome man as president. With the impeccable smile and blue suit, you would wish him to be your second father. You only wondered why he could not cure the cough that made his voice so raspy, like peppermint death rattle. Nevertheless, he was still your choice for a second father, and was the most handsome in the calendar of African presidents on the wall of your parlor, with Daniel Arap Moi, of course, as the ugliest. But how could your father's soldier have committed such crimes? More than a quarter of a century later, two names were still stuck to your mind amongst the tens that were killed: Mary Bina, alias Iron Lady, and 4. Ignatius, alias Promised Land. Promised Land symbolizes end of month salary, for he was the one who would drive your father from Ndu at downtown Bamenda for salary. He was a promise for Promised Land. Mary Bina, Nge Glory, Njata Haleri, Tunga Fedina, She Yongla, Tala George, and Regina Kongsi were all killed by the Cameroon gendarmes indiscriminately in 1992, 6th of June. May their soul rest in power. I will conclude. Until justice is done for the millions of our people who suffered from the pain and trauma of this so-called La République du Cameroon Union that we have found ourselves in, as we mourn those who continue to die in La République du Cameroon's hand, our people who are systematically being humiliated in Calais. Today, they are being slaughtered on a daily basis for no reason or for made-up reasons, sometimes, some of whom's family are scared to even cry publicly the death of their loved ones in the hands of the Cameroon terrorist military. Ambazonia will never forget. This generation will never demand less than justice for our people, for those who have been killed, those forgotten, those hidden in bushes, those who will never be seen and their story never been heard. We will stand and fight for justice, justice for all those killed by the Cameroon occupation and recolonization of the former British Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia. God bless you. Capo Daniel, spokesperson of the Ambazonian Governing Council.